Saigon Radio.
This is KBDT, Highland Park, Texas.
Dũng Em xin kính chào quý thính giả và cảm ơn quý vị vẫn giữ làn sóng của Đài Phát thanh Saigon Dallas 1160 AM. Và ngay bây giờ như thường lệ, xin kính mời quý vị đến với chương trình Mấy Dặm Sơn Khê. Và thưa quý vị, chương trình ngày hôm nay, anh Phan Q Trọng sẽ phỏng vấn Nick Trần, là một người lính của quân đội Hoa Kỳ. Chúc mừng năm mới anh Phan Q Trọng.
Vâng, chúc mừng năm mới anh Dũng Nghiêm, và kính thưa quý vị, chúng tôi rất hân hạnh là hôm nay chúng tôi có một người bạn. Anh ta tên là Nick Trần, và anh hiện nay là đã về hưu rồi sau khi đi quân đội 13 năm. Và hiện nay là anh sẽ ra để mà tranh cử cho chức vụ dân biểu Liên bang Hoa Kỳ tại địa phận số 8 tại Houston, Texas. Hello Nick, how are you?
Hey, Happy New Year. Good morning. Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. Happy New Year. Kính thưa quý vị, Nick đến Hoa Kỳ từ cái tuổi rất là nhỏ, thành ra hiểu được tiếng Việt, nhưng mà khi mà Nick nói chuyện với tôi đó là Nick muốn nói bằng tiếng Anh cho nó có lưu loát. Nick, before we jump into our conversation, I would like to introduce about you in Vietnamese, okay? Just give me 2 minutes. All right, thưa quý vị, anh Nick Trần sinh ra tại miền Nam Việt Nam, và sau khi Sài Gòn sụp đổ vào năm 1975, anh và người cha của anh là một đại tá trong quân đội Việt Nam Cộng Hòa và đã từng là chỉ huy trưởng của trường Pháo binh Quốc gia Đà Lạt, đã rời Việt Nam trên một con tàu rất là nhỏ. Và thưa quý vị, khi mà đến Hoa Kỳ đó thì cha anh và anh ta không có cái gì cả trong tay, và trên cái con đường mà đi đến Hoa Kỳ đó thì tại Biển Đông, cha anh và anh đã được quân đội Hoa Kỳ cứu sống ở trên Biển Đông, và chính vì vậy anh đã xem nước Mỹ như là một cái nước đã đem đến cái đời sống cho anh và một cái tương lai cho anh và gia đình. Chính vì vậy mà anh quyết định nhập ngũ để trả lại cái món nợ ân tình với nước Mỹ, và ông đã từng phục vụ tại 3 cuộc chiến lớn như là Desert Storm, Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom tại Iraq và tại Afghanistan. Và gần đây thì anh, sau khi mà anh trở về đó, Hoa Kỳ đó, và anh đã trở lại đi học và được học tại trường, thưa quý vị, một trong cái ngôi trường đại học nổi tiếng nhất nước Mỹ, đó là trường Harvard. Anh đã trở lại đi học và lấy cái bằng cử nhân, và sau đó tốt nghiệp và đã làm trong ngành dầu khí hơn 12 năm nay. Hello Nick, I kind of briefly give our audience a little bit about yourself, but I would like to hear directly from you. How did you get to the United States in 1975?
Yeah, so thank you. I understand most of what you said.
Thank you.
When April 30th, 1975, my father and I escaped Saigon after he spent time with General Vin Luck to help coordinate a counteroffensive to buy more time for civilians to escape Saigon. And in the morning he came to get me. My mother had already been inside of the city that had been captured, so I never saw her again. And the airport had already been captured as well. So we made our way to the coast, just my father and I, and found a small boat made for 18 people, and over 100 people jumped on board this small boat, and we headed out to the ocean with no food, no water, just full of hope to escape the communists, the Viet Cong that was chasing us. After 3 days, people started to die from dehydration, and our batteries on our boat and the fuel died, so we were stranded in the middle of the ocean. And at that morning of the third day, May 2nd, we were rescued by an American warship from the Navy 7th Fleet. Luckily, they heard our SOS message, but we never knew that they heard us because our radio battery had died by then. they took us to Guam, and we grew up in that refugee camp until we were granted political asylum to come to the United States legally. And we went to Houston
go ahead.
in 1975, and we started our life here in Houston.
Wow, so how old were you in 1975?
I was 5 years old. Yeah, 5 years old. I was born in 1969.
Wow, so you remember all that. 5 years old is I guess that, so you eventually escaped Vietnam, just you and your father, who was a colonel in the Republic of Vietnam military service.
Yeah, my father's name was Trung Ngọc Huynh.
Oh, wow. You know, there's a lot of Vietnamese officers graduate from that National Academy here in Dallas, Texas, and some of them is listening to us right now.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
he was the commandant for the Dallas Military Academy for, I think, the class 15, 16, and 17th class.
Oh, wow. It's an older class. And you also mentioned General Vinh Lộc is a well-known general in those last days.
Yeah, so General Vinh Lộc was on the same boat with us. It was me, my dad, General Vinh Lộc, and we had just the clothes on our backs because the luggage that we carried from the small boat that transferred us to the big boat, as soon as we climbed on the bigger boat, the man in the small canoe boat took off with our belongings because he knew that people who were escaping the last minute were carrying their most valuable possessions, so he took advantage of that situation. So all we had was just the clothes on our back.
Wow, what a story. And you never seen your moms again after
Never
that?
saw her again. Yeah, I was 5 years old. I remember all of this because it was a very traumatic time in my life. It was a big pivotal point where I lost everything, my home, my country, my mother. And so I remember many parts of it. I remember being out in the ocean for 3 days and just lips cracking and bleeding and not being able to drink anything and just looking out at the ocean and seeing all this water that I can't drink. I remember every bit of that.
So you one of the first boat people. I wasn't a boat people too, but it's back in 1977, so it's like 3 years later. So on your American dream journey, and I read some of your writing, and I heard many interviews that you provided. You often say America didn't just save your life; she gave you a future. And as someone who arrived with nothing like us, but the clothes on our back, so what is your message to those who feel American dream is no longer achievable in today's economy?
It is still achievable. You just have to stop thinking of yourself as a victim. I think there are a lot of people who think somehow that they're victims, and you stick in that victim mindset, and you don't accomplish things. America is the same America that was built for generations. You come in here, as long as you work hard, and that's the key. You have to work hard. You have to take everything you learned from your family growing up and apply it to achieve the things you want in this world. The only person that's in your way to prevent you from getting that dream is yourself. That person that looks in the mirror in the morning when you look in there. The opportunity is here. Stop thinking of yourself as a victim and go after it.
Absolutely, and your story is a true testimonies about it. You joined the Army for 13 years. They sent you to the front. You fought, and you came back. You know, a lot of people have just waiting for what happened to them. You decide to go back to school, and you went to one of the best universities, become a professional, and you spent more than a decade working in the oil industry. Your story is just a conviction of that. So, growing up, what do you learn? I mean, and how you can share that experience with the younger Vietnamese American now?
I learned that from my father. He is the only hero in my life. You know, he could have used his privilege and his rank and his money to have escaped Vietnam several days before the fall of Saigon. He could have gone on an airplane with all of our luxury and riches and left. But he decided to stay and sacrifice because he loved Vietnam. He loved the country. It was a patriotism. And growing up, seeing, him struggle when we came here to the United States, he was overqualified for all the jobs that he tried to find when we got here in 1975, he graduated from the General Staff College in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and he had degrees, several degrees. So he was overqualified, couldn't find a job. He ended up working at Stop and Go as a night manager because we didn't know anybody here, and he had to take the night shift after he put me to bed, go to work, and then come back and get me ready for school. I was 5 years old. I learned that from him. It's you go after your dreams, and it doesn't matter how many times you fall, you got to get up. We didn't have a lot of money. I grew up, I also wanted to pay back this country, but I knew that I couldn't afford college, so I had to join the military. And then join the military for the benefits, but I also joined the military to pay back this country that opened our arms to us and saved our lives. The opportunity's here. You just have to go after it.
Absolutely. And I would like to pause just a little bit to share your story in Vietnamese. Kính thưa quý vị, vừa rồi đó là anh Nick Trần có chia sẻ một câu chuyện rất là cảm động. Tức là sau khi rời Việt Nam với người cha của anh là một vị đại tá trong quân đội Việt Nam Cộng Hòa, được tàu Mỹ đưa rước và đưa vào Guam rồi định cư tại Houston. Mặc dù là có kiến thức và đã từng được du học tại Hoa Kỳ, nhưng mà vị đại tá này không kiếm được việc, cho nên phải làm trong những cái gọi như là những cái tiệm Stop and Go ở Houston. Mà lúc đó Nick chỉ mới có 5-6 tuổi thôi quý vị. Tức là một người cha phải nuôi một người con không có mẹ và trở lại làm lại từ đầu. Và Nick đã thấy hình ảnh của người cha đó chính là một cái hình ảnh mẫu để mà cho anh cố gắng. Anh biết là anh không thể nào đi học vì cái hoàn cảnh, thành ra anh phải đi lính. Và sau khi đi lính, anh được cái quân đội Hoa Kỳ giúp anh trở lại trường đại học. Đó, tất cả những cái gương đó, phải nói đây là một cái gương của những người Việt Nam đã từng đến Hoa Kỳ với hai bàn tay trắng và trở nên một người thành công như là Nick ngày hôm nay. Nick, you served over 13 years on the front lines of 3 different wars. You make it back. It's just amazing. How does that split-second decision-making you learn under fire in Iraq, in Afghanistan, translate to the halls of Congress?
I'll give you an example. When we were in Afghanistan, we first got there, I was with 20th Special Forces Group. I wasn't a Green Beret, but in the Special Forces Group, you have different elements. You have medical, you have intelligence, you have communications. So I was a medic. When we went to villages to try to find out who the Taliban were, no one wanted to talk to us. No, they didn't trust us. Of course, if we talked to the villagers, the Taliban would kill them. So we had to figure out a way to develop a relationship, and that's one of the key aspects that I've learned from my experience in the military is developing relationships, talking to people, finding out what's important to them, and finding solutions. So what we did is we would go to these villages and start find out what's important to them. For them, it was keeping their kids alive because most kids, 2 out of 5 kids do not make it up to the age of 5. They die from diseases that are commonly eradicated in modern medical technology. So we would go to villages for months and give kids first world medicine. We bring our doctors, we bring our medics, we inoculate the children, take care of the villagers. Slowly, we built trust and bond with the people in the villages. And then after 6 months, they started telling us where the Taliban were. They told us where the weapon caches were, and they told us where the bombs are on the roads were. It's this learning of sitting down with elders in villages that didn't trust us, didn't speak our language, and be able to build the relationships, find out what's important, and achieve a common goal. Working with different allied nations to hunt down the worst of humans, understanding geopolitics, understand how dynamics play into creating different objectives and accomplishing them. Those are some of the things that I've learned in the military. But also, my resume comes not just from the battlefield, but also in the boardroom of oil and gas, where I built a global program for Schlumberger, helping people get off the streets, helping people find healing. Most of these are veterans, but also regular people, women, to get into the industry, helping people understand the beauty of the industry, how it provides energy independence for America, helping kids get interested in STEM degrees. So instead of going to school and get some liberal arts degree and then they could not be able to get a job once they graduate and be in debt, they have a job as an engineer, as a scientist, as a mathematician, jobs that we hire and offer very high-paying salaries. So these are things that I did in oil and gas, and these experiences that I have not from D.C., but from the real world, managing a P&L, managing multi-million-dollar budgets, hiring people. These are the experiences I bring to Congress. The experience, people say, oh, you need experience in D.C. Well, the experience in D.C. has failed us for decades, and it's time to do something different if you want different results.
Yes, absolutely. And before you talking about helping the less fortunate than we are, I'd like to talk a little bit about that. But before that, I would like to point people to your website right now. Kính thưa quý vị đang nghe cái cuộc nói chuyện của chúng tôi với anh Nick Trần, là một trong những ứng cử viên của Đảng Cộng Hòa, thưa quý vị, cho chức dân biểu Liên bang Hoa Kỳ cho địa phận số 8 tại Houston. Và thưa quý vị, anh sống ở trong cái thành phố gọi là Houston, nhưng mà thực ra nó ở ngoại ô Houston, nó ở vùng Woodland. Thành ra không có nhiều người Việt. Và 3 tuần nay chúng tôi biết về anh, chúng tôi tìm đến anh và chúng tôi mới biết là anh không có cách nào liên lạc tới với người Việt. Cho nên đây là, có thể nói đây là một cái cuộc phỏng vấn đầu tiên với chúng ta trên một đài Việt ngữ. Và thưa quý vị, nếu quý vị muốn tìm hiểu về Nick Trần thì xin quý vị hãy vào cái trang mạng là nicktrendfortexas.com, nicktrendfortexas.com để hiểu tất cả về anh, về con người của anh, về những cái mong ước của anh, về cái chính sách của anh nếu anh trở thành một vị dân biểu Hoa Kỳ. Dear Nick, in your career in the private sector with Schlumberger, one of the biggest oil company in the world, you focus heavily on veteran hiring programs. You focus on helping people who don't have opportunity like most, rich Americans. And you mentioned a program like hand up over hand out. Can you tell us about specific programs like that and why you believe that private sector is sometimes better than the government system?
Sure, that's a great question. So when I took over the program for Schlumberger, it was first a global veteran hiring program where they just want to hire veterans for oil and gas because the skill sets match. Veterans been overseas, they work in harsh conditions and they work in they've been away from home for a long time. So that's oil and gas work is very similar, where you're going to places that are very remote, very harsh, and sometimes you sleep in your truck for 3 weeks at a time. So we started as a hiring program, but then I realized that before we hire people, before we invite people in the house, we need to make sure our house is cleaned up, is ready for them. And a lot of vets still suffer from PTS when they get out of war or service. Some are homeless. So we went and focused on helping vets get off the streets, helping them find help from PTS by connecting them with organizations that focus on these issues. We donate to these organizations, these nonprofits, because Schlumberger, being a $35 billion company, we want to make sure that we have a sense of gratitude for the community where we live and work. And they donate millions of dollars to the United Way. And so what I did is I asked, hey, why don't you give me some of that money so we can focus on our veteran population, but also create a pipeline for good, strong workers for our industry. So we started that and partnered with all these organizations, but then it expanded to helping women get into oil and gas, helping women get interested in STEM degrees. We started early in the college, like first year, to come in there and talk to people and say, you need to go to these, push them towards engineering and science and math degrees so you can have jobs here with us. And the whole idea of giving out this help was not to enable somebody to stay in the same situation they're at. And Christ said, you teach a man. Oh, I'm sorry. You give a man fish, he won't be hungry for that day. But if you teach him how to fish, he'll never be hungry for the rest of his life. So for the programs that I created, I made sure that it was not just a handout, but a hand up. You don't want to enable somebody to just stay in a situation and just get free stuff. It had to move the needle. It had to improve their situation for us to get involved and for us to actually help them get moved to the next level of their life. That was my mission, and that was my insight and vision when I created this program to help not just veterans but women and children in the communities where we live and work globally.
Wow. Kính thưa quý vị, vừa rồi đó, Nick đã chia sẻ với chúng ta những cái công việc của anh ta làm cho một cái hãng gọi là tên là Schlumberger, là một cái hãng dầu nổi tiếng trên thế giới. Và cái công việc của anh đó là làm cái thế nào mà giúp đỡ những người mà kém may mắn hơn chúng ta trở lại trường học, học những cái ngành nghề về kỹ thuật, và kiếm những công việc làm tốt. Và thưa quý vị, những cái người như vậy là những người mà chúng ta cần phải giúp để mà họ đại diện chúng ta tại Quốc hội Hoa Kỳ. Và thưa quý vị, nếu quý vị vào cái trang nicktrendfortexas.com đó, nhìn qua bên phía tay phải, quý vị sẽ thấy một cái nút đỏ nó gọi là Donate Now. Thưa quý vị, chúng ta ở xa, chúng ta không thể dùng lá phiếu để bỏ cho những người tốt như là anh Nick Trần, nhưng mà chúng ta có thể giúp bằng cách cho 1 đồng, 5 đồng, 10 đồng, 50 đồng. Thưa quý vị, cái số tiền đó giúp Nick Trần mua những cái service, mua những cái cách để mà Nick Trần có thể gửi cái tiếng nói của Nick Trần đến những cái người mà có thể bầu cho Nick Trần tại địa phận District số 8. Chính vì vậy mà chúng tôi xin mong mỏi quý vị hãy vào. Nick Trần có mặt ở trên X, có mặt ở trên Facebook, có mặt ở rất là nhiều nơi. Và nếu quý vị vào, quý vị nghe những cái tiếng nói của anh Nick Trần này đó, giống như chúng ta đang nghe ở đây, quý vị sẽ thấy đây là một người trẻ, đúng phải nói chúng tôi phải công nhận là một hậu duệ của Việt Nam Cộng Hòa, rất là xứng đáng để mà chúng ta bầu vào Quốc hội Hoa Kỳ. Nick, with 12 years of experience in oil and gas industry, you've been a vocal, voice about energy independence. And for the listener in District 8 right now, how do you plan to balance the push for new energy technology while we're protecting the traditional energy jobs that are so vital to Texas too?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of people don't understand that oil and gas is going to be around for a long time. And here's the thing. Do you want China to drill for fossil fuels, or do you want America to drill for fossil fuels? And the reason I ask that, okay, we do it very responsible. We're very responsible in making sure the environment doesn't get destroyed, that we have minimal impact on the ecological impact of this planet. Oil and gas is right now the only reliable and affordable energy to meet the energy needs that the world needs. I mean, for places that have experimental green energy, solar and wind is very expensive, for one, and second, it's not as reliable. I believe that we should have clean energy, but it needs to be done correctly in the correct amount of time. You can't just wipe out oil and gas and replace it with wind and energy and expect to have the same kind of, to meet the energy needs that you need every day and to afford it. You know, we have to do it step by step. Another thing I'm pro is for nuclear energy. We should have the ability to have nuclear energy in every state. So I am a champion for oil and gas. I am also a champion for innovation and to make sure that we're competitive among the world. One of the things that concern me the most is our electrical grid, our power grid. It is very vulnerable to attacks. You know, with 4 years of open borders and 20 million people coming here, not all of them came here just for a good life. Those open doors were taken advantage by state actors like from Iran, from China, from Russia, but also non-state actors like Hamas, ISIS, Taliban, to infiltrate our country and create terror cells and possibly plan an attack similar to what happened in Israel on October 7th. That is what keeps me up at night, to make sure that when we deport these people, we focus on the biggest threats first. It's almost like, my background as being a combat medic. You have to triage based on priority. Get those bad actors out of the country. Next is target the criminals and the cartels, and then go down the road. But because we have limited time, limited resources, we got to focus on the most dangerous. I know I went off on the energy part, but it ties together. Imagine not having power for 6 months or 18 months if the grid is taken out. Most people will die. Like, water will not come in through your faucets because those pumps are electric.
It's amazing. And when I hear you, I just like you really resonate what President Trump has said about energy independence, has said about identify our true enemy. domestically or foreignly. Nick, too bad we don't have a lot of time. We have about 2 minutes before we end this conversation. If you have a chance to talk in front of young Vietnamese Americans right now, would you like to share your thoughts with the young people?
Yeah, the most important thing I would say is have the ability to think for yourself. Critical thinking is not something that schools teach. Understand that the basic public school system is to teach people to become workers, not entrepreneurs. So have the ability to think for yourself, not being indoctrinated, and go against the flow. Understand that Vietnam, guys like me and you who escaped from Vietnam, understand the horrors of communism. We didn't read that in the book or saw it in the movie. It is true evil. And to think that schools are pushing that ideology that socialism and communism is a good thing is incorrect. Please do your own research. We hate communism because it destroyed our country, and it's going to destroy this country that if we allow it to. So be the gem among the other dull stones and stand for yourself and think for yourself and remember where your parents came from and what we fought for. And it has to be fought for every single day because this is the last frontier for us. There's nowhere else for us to escape to. We have to protect America. We have to love America because it is our country now. We have to strive to be Americans.
That is so true. And this is our last frontier between good and evil. Nick, thank you very much for your time. And I want to say, I just want to end real quick to let you know that early voting has started. Early voting started yesterday and it ends on the 27th, and the last day to vote is March 3rd. So the donations right now help us get more ads out to voters. But also remember, even though I'm only running Texas 8th District, when I'm in Congress, I represent the entire country. So whatever bills or votes that I make affect the entire country. So help me fight for this country that we love. Wow, thank you very much, Nick. And kính thưa quý vị, xin quý vị hãy lên trang nicktrendfortexas.com để tìm hiểu về anh Nick, và xin quý vị hãy đóng góp để giúp những người tốt như vậy vào Quốc hội Hoa Kỳ đại diện cho chúng ta. Once again, thank you very much, and good luck with the early voting, and hopefully we can bring you back in the future. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Xin kính chào quý vị.
Giữa khung trời kêu lãng chờ mùa xuân tươi sáng, những mùa thắm